You know that feeling when something's off, but you can't quite put your finger on it? That's how it started with me. My wife Emily, she'd always been this open book, you know? But then things changed subtly at first. One evening, I'm waiting for her to come home from work. It's 7 p.m., her usual time, but she's not there. No biggie, right? Work can be unpredictable, but then 7 turns to 8 and 8 rolls into 9. I'm starting to worry, not just about her safety, but something else, a nagging doubt. When she finally walks in, it's past 10. Sorry, hun, work was crazy, she says, but something in her tone sets off alarm bells. It's not just the lateness, it's this air of what nonchalance? I can't shake the feeling that something's not right. The next day, it's the same story. Late again. This time, there's no apology, no explanation. Just a mumbled, I'm tired as she heads to bed. That's when I notice her phone buzzing on the kitchen counter. Normally, I wouldn't even glance, but curiosity gets the better of me. The screen lights up with a name I don't recognize. Mark? Who's Mark? It keeps happening, the late nights, the mysterious calls. And Emily, she's becoming more and more distant. Our conversations turn into one-word answers, and her eyes, they don't meet mine anymore. I decide to confront her about it, but she brushes it off. You're being paranoid, she says. But am I? I can't ignore the signs anymore. I remember this one time I glanced at her work calendar. There was supposed to be a team dinner, but when I casually mentioned it, she looked like a deer caught in headlights. Oh, that got canceled, she stammers. But something about it doesn't add up. Then there's the emotional chill. We used to be this team, you know? Always laughing, sharing our day. Now she's like a stranger in my own home. I try to reach out, ask if everything's okay, but she just shrugs it off. I'm fine, she insists, but her eyes are cold, distant. I'm not the type to snoop, but these doubts, they're eating me up inside. So one night when she's asleep, I do something I never thought I'd do. I check her phone. There it is, a string of texts from Mark, and they're not just friendly banter. My heart sinks, it's like this weight just settles in my chest. The worst part? I still love her. Despite all this, part of me hopes there's a reasonable explanation. But deep down, I know something's broken, and I'm not sure if it can be fixed. That's where it all started, with doubts, late nights, and a name on a screen. It's funny how the smallest things can unravel your whole world. But that's just the beginning, you know? The tip of the iceberg. And what lies beneath, well, it's a whole other storm. Out of nowhere, she throws this bombshell at me. Are you cheating on me? It hits me like a freight train. I'm there, utterly gobsmacked. Me? Cheating? That's rich, considering the late nights and the texts I've been seeing on her phone. But let me back up a bit. The air's been thick with tension lately. Emily, she's been distant, and now, out of the blue, she's hurling these wild accusations at me. I can't help but laugh, but it's a bitter sound. Where's this coming from? I ask her, but she just glares at me, her arms crossed. Don't play dumb, I know you're up to something, she snaps. It's like I'm in some twisted version of reality. Here I am, getting blamed for something I've never even thought about, while she's the one acting all secretive. It's maddening, and I feel like I'm in this alone. My friends, they don't get it. Just talk to her, they say, but it's not that simple. Every attempt at a conversation turns into a fight. One day, I'm home alone, and her phone's buzzing on the table. It's probably nothing, but something inside me says to check. I know it's wrong, but I need to know. I pick it up, and there it is, a message from some guy, all hearts and kissy faces. My heart sinks, it's like I'm holding a grenade, and it's about to go off. I confront her about it when she gets home. Who's this? I demand, shoving the phone in her face. She snatches it away, her face a mask of fury. You had no right to look at that, she screams. But I'm past caring about rights. I want answers. Is this why you've been accusing me? To cover up your own stuff? I ask, my voice rising. She doesn't answer, just storms out of the room. And I'm left there, feeling more alone than ever. It's like I'm living with a stranger. My wife, the woman I thought I knew inside out, has become this enigma. And I'm just floundering, trying to piece together what's left of our marriage. The accusations, the isolation, and now this message, it's all piling up. I'm in this whirlpool of doubt and betrayal, and I can't see a way out. I thought marriages were supposed to be about trust and honesty, but here I am, doubting everything. I go to bed that night, but sleep doesn't come. I'm just lying there, staring at the ceiling, wondering how it all went wrong. It's like I'm on this sinking ship. and I'm not sure if I should try to fix the leak or just jump overboard. But one thing's for sure, I can't keep going like this. So there I am with my world upside down. I've just hit Emily with the big question. Are you seeing someone else? Her reaction? A big fat denial. But it's not just a simple no. She flips the script on me, saying I'm paranoid, that I'm the one with trust issues. It's like I'm talking to a wall. But let me get to the juicy part. I'm not the kind to sit back and watch my life fall apart. So I do something I never thought I'd do. I hire a private detective. Sounds extreme, right? But I'm desperate for the truth. This detective, let's call him Jack, he's a real pro. He starts tailing Emily, keeping tabs on her movements. Feels weird, spying on my own wife. But every time I try to shake off the suspicion, something new comes up. Jack's updates are like pieces of a puzzle. Emily's not just working late. She's meeting people, going places that don't add up. One night she says she's with her sister. But Jack's photos show her entering a fancy restaurant, and guess what? No sister in sight. I'm torn between relief and despair. Relief because I'm not crazy, my gut was right. But despair because, well, it's my marriage we're talking about. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. You want to look away, but you can't. Ever get that gut punch feeling? That's me. The moment I see the photos Jack, my PI, sends me, there's Emily, clear as day, with some guy I've never seen before. They're laughing, touching, like they don't have a care in the world. And me? I feel like I've been kicked in the gut. But here's the kicker. Even with these pictures staring me in the face, part of me is still hoping there's a harmless explanation. Maybe he's a coworker, a cousin I've never met? Yeah, right, I'm grasping at straws and I know it. So I decide it's time for a showdown. When Emily walks through the door that evening, I'm ready, photos in hand. Her reaction? She freezes like a deer caught in headlights. But only for a second. Then she launches into this whole spiel about how they're just friends, how I'm blowing things out of proportion. I can't believe you're spying on me, she yells. You're paranoid. It's like I'm living in some twisted world where I'm the bad guy for finding out she's lying. The conversation goes nowhere. She's in denial. And I'm just hitting a brick wall. I try to keep my cool, but inside I'm boiling. This isn't just about her lying anymore. It's about trust, respect, things you can't have a marriage without. And here we are, standing in our living room, a chasm between us that's growing by the second. The more I push, the more she denies. It's a dance, a messed up one. These photos mean nothing, she insists. But they mean everything to me. They're proof that my marriage, my life as I know it, is a sham. I go to bed that night, but sleep is a stranger. My mind's racing, replaying the confrontation, the denials, her accusations of paranoia. It's like I'm trapped in a nightmare and I can't wake up. In the quiet of the night, it hits me, this isn't just about whether or not Emily's cheating. It's about us, who we've become. I'm lying there in the dark, wondering if I ever really knew her. And that's the scariest part of all. Ever had your world turned upside down? That's me when Jack, the detective, drops the bomb. More photos, more evidence of Emily's infidelities. It's not just one guy, there are others. Each photo, each message he shows me is like another stab in the heart. I thought I was prepared for the worst, but this is a whole new level of betrayal. The hurt is deep, it's like everything I believed in, everything we built over the years is crumbling to dust. I confront Emily again, armed with this new evidence. But it's not just a confrontation this time. It's an outpouring of pain and betrayal. How could you do this to us? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. She's defensive, throwing back accusations at me. You're always busy, you never listen. It's like she's trying to justify her actions, but it's all noise to me now. The trust is broken, shattered into a million pieces. Our house, once a home filled with love and laughter, turns into a battlefield. Every conversation is a potential trigger. We're like two strangers walking on eggshells, bracing for the next explosion. The air is thick with tension, anger, and unsaid words. It's exhausting, living in this constant state of conflict. I find myself withdrawing, retreating into my shell. It's easier than facing the reality of our broken marriage. But the silence is deafening. It's in these quiet moments that the reality of our situation hits me the hardest. I start questioning everything, our past, our love, the vows we took. How much of it was real? How long has this been going on? The questions haunt me day and night. I lie awake staring at the ceiling, lost in a sea of thoughts. One evening, in the middle of another heated argument, I stop mid-sentence. I look at her, really look at her, and I don't recognize the person in front of me. The woman I married, the woman I loved, she's nowhere to be found. It's a sobering realization. You know that saying, ignorance is bliss? Well, I was about to find out how true it is. I came home early one day, expecting an empty house. What I found instead shattered my world into a million pieces. There was Emily right in our living room with that guy from the photos. My Emily in the arms of another man in our home, the place we built together. It was like a scene from a nightmare, except I was wide awake. The shock hit me like a freight train. For a moment I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I just stood there, watching the scene unfold before my eyes. Then the anger and hurt came crashing in. It was a tidal wave of emotions, overwhelming and uncontrollable. I don't even remember what I yelled, but I remember the look on her face. The surprise, the guilt, it was all there. But what hurt the most wasn't the betrayal, it was the realization that our marriage, our life together, was a lie. The confrontation that followed was like a volcano erupting. Years of love, trust, and memories, they all came crashing down in that one moment. How could you? I kept asking, but no answer would have been good enough. Nothing could undo what I had just seen. Emily tried to explain, to apologize, but it was all just noise to me. I was too far gone, drowning in a sea of anger and grief. It was like every word she said was a reminder of the betrayal. Our home, once a place of comfort and love, felt like a prison, trapping me with my own shattered illusions. I walked away mid-sentence. I had to get out, to breathe, to think. The walls of the house were closing in on me, each one echoing back the lies and deceit. The chapter ends with me outside, sitting on our front steps. The cool evening air is a stark contrast to the burning chaos inside me. I'm trying to piece together the fragments of my life, but they're slipping through my fingers. The future, once so clear and bright, is now a dark, uncertain path. And there I am, alone in the silence of the night, wondering how it all went so wrong. The pain is raw, the betrayal deep, and the road ahead is uncharted. But one thing is clear. Nothing will ever be the same again. Ever been in a situation where you get the truth, but it's nothing like you expected? After the whole showdown, Emily finally cracks. She admits that she's been seeing someone else. But get this, she's still pinning some of the blame on me. You were never there, she says. I felt alone. It's like she's trying to justify her cheating. Hearing her admit it, it's a mix of relief and agony. Relief because I'm not crazy, and agony because my worst fears are true. But the way she's shifting some of the blame onto me, that stings. It's like she's trying to make me a co-conspirator in her betrayal. After that, talking to Emily becomes like navigating a minefield. Every word is loaded. Every conversation is a potential explosion. It's exhausting. We start avoiding each other. The house becomes this silent, tense place, thick with unspoken words and buried hurt. I start spending more time in the garage just to have some space. I tinker with my old bike, something I haven't touched in years. Keeps my hands busy and my mind off things, sort of. But you can't outrun your thoughts, can you? Then one day I make a decision. I can't live in this limbo. I call up a lawyer to talk about divorce. Just dialing the number feels like I'm crossing a point of no return. The lawyer's voice is calm, professional, but to me, it sounds like the closing of a chapter. Meeting the lawyer, it's all very businesslike. Asset division, custody arrangements, it all feels so cold, so final. I'm sitting there in this polished office talking about dismantling the life I built with Emily. And it hits me, this is real, this is happening. I get home and the silence is deafening. Emily's there, but we're like ghosts to each other. I want to tell her about the lawyer, but the words just don't come out. It's like admitting it makes it more real, and I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. The chapter ends with me in the garage, the bike parts laid out in front of me. It's quiet except for the sound of a wrench turning. I'm lost in my thoughts, trying to piece together what's left of my life, just like I'm piecing together this bike. But some things, once broken, can't be fixed. And there I am, alone with my thoughts, surrounded by the ghosts of a life that used to be. Wondering how everything that once seemed so right turned out so wrong. You know how they say it never rains but it pours? Well, I'm right there in the middle of a storm. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, Emily drops another bomb. She wants half of everything. And I mean everything, the house, my savings, even my grandpa's watch. It's like she's trying to erase me from my own life. But here's where the plot twists a bit. My buddies, they've been my lifeline. They're there with a beer and a listening ear when I need it. We're at Dave's place and I'm spilling my guts. They're outraged on my behalf, throwing around words like unfair and ridiculous. It feels good to have someone in my corner for a change. Then, in the quiet moments, I start thinking about the past 15 years. You know, the good times with Emily, the vacations, the lazy Sundays, the way she used to laugh at my dumb jokes. It's like this montage of memories, playing on a loop in my head. And man, it hurts. It's like mourning the death of a life I thought I had. One night, I'm sitting in the backyard just staring up at the stars. It's peaceful, a stark contrast to the chaos of my life. I think about all the dreams we had, all the plans we made. It's hard to accept how things have turned out. It's like I'm living in the aftermath of a hurricane, trying to make sense of the wreckage. Back at Dave's, the guys are trying to cheer me up. They're planning a guys' night out, something I haven't done in ages. It's weird, you know, trying to find normalcy in the middle of a personal crisis. But I go along with it, trying to put on a brave face. I get home late that night, a little buzzed, and the house feels empty, haunted almost. I wander from room to room, each one filled with echoes of the past. I stop in front of the photo wall, our smiling faces looking back at me. It's bittersweet, a reminder of what used to be and what's lost. After Emily and I decide it's over, the house feels empty like a shell. I'm wandering through these rooms, each one screaming with memories, and I'm just lost. The divorce proceedings start. It's a mess of paperwork, meetings with lawyers, and endless arguments over who gets what. Every item we're fighting over. It's like a piece of our life together being judged and evaluated. It's surreal, sitting in a stark office, dissecting the life we built together. But it's not just the legal stuff that's tough. It's the loneliness, the deafening silence of the house. I come home from work and there's no one to talk to. No Emily asking how my day was, no laughter, no warmth. Just me and the echo of my footsteps. I try to keep busy, throw myself into work, hang out with friends. But when I'm alone, the confusion hits hard. What do I do now? Who am I without her? We were a team, and now I'm just this solo player in a game I don't know how to play. The future, it's this big blank canvas, and I've got no clue what to paint on it. I used to have plans, dreams, but now, it's like trying to navigate through a fog. I'm second-guessing every decision, every move. There's this one night, I'm sitting in our gnome, my backyard, just staring at the stars. I used to do this with Emily, talk about our dreams, our future. Now it's just me, a beer in hand, and a heart full of questions. I think about all the things I could do, all the places I could go. But it's scary starting over. I'm not some young guy with no ties. I've got a history, a past that's weighing me down. The chapter ends with me lying in bed. The room dark except for the moonlight streaming in through the window. I'm staring at the ceiling, lost in thought. The future's uncertain, a path untraveled. I'm haunted by the what-ifs and the could-have-beens. And there I am, alone in the quiet, trying to piece together a new life from the remnants of the old. It's daunting, this journey ahead. I'm stepping into the